Hello, it's the Toaster Party, and we're back with another game of Budget Burning Abyss Control. This time it's playing against Synchro-Frog. But without further ado, let's get into the game. I'm in a Foolish Burial setting off a Scarm, so let me add a copy of Tour Guide to the Underworld straight to my hand. I didn't want to summon anything to my side of the field because I wanted to keep the game alive just in case it was, hey, look, a Synchro variant. They're going to go into Halka Firebrax, and this is exactly what I was looking for. I'm going to then use the Gamma, popping the Halka Firebrax, which then lets me leave monsters on my side of the field so that they're not really going to be able to attack over it, but I didn't know what they were playing at this point. I'm going to then Tour Guide into Seer, which then gets Canadia'd. They're going to then special summon the Canadia back and set another copy of Volinoids to their side of the field, popping my copy of Trap Trick, which I'm then going to chain to send out a copy of Fiend's Griefing. They're then going to draw a second copy of Evenly Matched. That's going to be super useful at this point. Then they're going to try going through a long chain of stuff, which still ends up in them getting a copy of Frog to their side of the field, but I'm going to attempt to try removing a copy of Canadia, but it doesn't really work. They still have Frog, and they then summon a copy of Swap Frog to their side of the field. I'm then going to summon Dante to my side of the field, or flip it back up, and then summon the Rhino Warrior, triggering Rhino Warrior's effect to negate the effect of Frog with Alec. I'm going to use Dante's effect, milling off 3, trying to banish the copy of everything on their side of the field, but then they chain Frog, but Frog doesn't actually do anything there. But then they're going to set a copy of Falcon Fireworks back into their deck, and I have 2 face-up defensive position monsters, which is going to be pretty hard to get over. They're going to then summon a card while they still have evenly matched on their side of the field, which then, in how it resolves in chain, doesn't actually do anything. But then I do something similar by activating an effect failure in response to a card that can't be effect failured, and then they remove my Dante, leaving me with a 2,000 defense point Scarm and a Dynamicious on my side of the field. I'm going to attack their face down, but then they're going to chain their copy of Dynamicious to their side of the field, putting the Scarm back in my hand. And because I have a card set, I can no longer do anything really with the Scarm special summon effect, but I have a Dynamicious that lets me remove the copy of Scarm from my hand, which is going to let me search up a copy of a Fiend from my deck to my hand. Then they go into Halka Firebrax, summoning Area of the Water Charmer, go into Link Cross, setting 2 cards to their side of the field. They then Synchro summon into Formula Synchron, which then lets them go into Barricade Blocker, which then lets them go into Mega Fantabeast Auroradon, which they're then going to use to go into a copy of the O-Lion, which then they're going to take off for Rose Garden Maiden, but then they clog up their zones by summoning it, or the Phantom token, so I don't actually die here. I then get to add Tour Guide for the Underworld to my hand, and then they have a copy of Impermanent Set, but I'm then going to get a copy of Dynamicious back to my side of the field, so I can start attacking over the tokens, but I'm going to then go into Nightmare Cerberus, which is going to let me fetch a copy of Scarm, which lets me get another search, which is I'm going to then try attacking over the Linkuriboh, which then lets me not really do much from here, but I get to add a copy of Graph to my hand. And the Rose Garden main can attack over the Nightmare Cerberus. We're then going to bounce the Swap Frog, getting another copy of Frog in the graveyard so they can start looping their copies of Ronin Toad in their graveyard, but they have 1,000 attack point monsters, and hey, I have 1,000 attack point monster too. I'm going to attack over their Swap Frog, getting me a copy of Calcat, because it's the biggest Burning Abyss body still left in my deck, and we're currently at parity. They then Ronin Toad in back to their side of the field, so now they have a 2,000 point wall on their side of the field. I'm going to attack over the last token, and I have a copy of Ghost Ogre, which is pretty okay here. Then draw Dynamicious, which is not very good for me. I draw my own copy of Dynamicious, which is okay for me. And then they're going to draw a copy that's going to allow them to trigger off Dynamicious, which then lets them get Paleozoic Olinoids to their side of the field, and then they're going to get another Ronin Toad and switch both to attack position and then start picking in for 100, 100, and 1,200. Okay, I'm not sitting pretty good here. I'm going to draw for turn, Fiendish Rhino Warrior. Hey, it's bigger than anything they have. I attack over one of the frogs, leaving them at 6,700 points of damage. They then draw Compulse. They're going to set that to their side of the field, and I'm going to draw a copy of Gamma for turn. Super useful. Not really. I attack over their Olinoids, and then they're going to draw Impermanence. They're going to Ronin Toad back to the Ronin Toad, compulsing back my copy of Fiendish Rhino Warrior. Then they get Dynamicious. But hey, I have Lost One, which halves the attack points of their copy of Dynamicious. So then I'm going to Dynamicious away the Canadia, which is going to let me send a copy of Scarm to my graveyard, which will let me search at the end of my turn. And hey, I'm not dead yet. Okay, now I get a copy of Scarm, which lets me search Egypt Sabers, the current biggest body left in the deck, and then I'm going to attack over their Dynamicious, dealing in 600 points of damage. They then draw a copy of Canadia, which we're going to set to their side of the field, and then I'm going to draw Fiendish Rhino Warrior. I'm going to normal summon Ghost Ogre and Sinnoh Rabbit using Levier's effect to let me summon a copy of Gamma, then let me summon Engine Sabers to defense position on my side of the field. I have built myself a wall of really tiny monsters. They're going to use the effect of Canadia to set my copy of Levier to face down defense position. Then they're going to summon Ash Blossoms, but then they realize they did something that prevents them from going into one of the Synchros in their extra deck or something. Then I'm going to Levier to summon back a copy of Calcab, which then lets me make a Topologic Trisbania, which then lets me use Farfa to get rid of one of their cards, but then I don't do well with my zone placement and remove my own copy of Gym Sabers from play. Not very smart, but hey, then they go into 2 copies of Ronin Toad, and then I'm left to go into the battle phase, attack for 1 copy, and then attack together with Levier. They couldn't really have had anything too big that I couldn't have attacked over with Levier, so it was a worthwhile risk. Now I go into battle phase, attack over the other copy of Ronin Toad, and set my copy of Dynamicious to defense position. Just into face, I have some way to get into something that's bigger than my copy of Dynamicious. And then I set my copy of Dynamicious to my side of the field. They only noise away my Dynamicious, but then I attack into for 1800. They then evenly matched away all but my Trisbania, because hey, that's the one card I want to keep. But then they draw Dynamicious, which is not fun. I then have a copy of Lost Wind to my side that I can set to my side of the field, but I still have a Dynamicious that I can summon even though my Trisbania was then just sent away. I set Lost Wind, and then I'm feeling pretty okay here. They draw Jet Synchron. I'm not going to attack into that because I don't know if that could be another hand trap. And I'm going to then set a copy of Rubik to my side of the field. They draw. They can't do anything. I'm going to then draw a copy of Trap Trick. Not very useful here. I'm going to keep my monster attack position, not doing much because then they set another card to their side of the field, and then realize at this point the best thing to do is set Dynamicious to defense position just in case they have anything. They don't. They go into Link Revo, they go into Jet Synchron, they flip the copy of Ash Blossom, they attack into the copy of Dynamicious, and they attack into the Rubik, and that is the game. Man, that was a long game. And there wasn't a second one because of how long the first one actually lasted. Well, hope you enjoyed.